Come on in. We back again. Tag team back again. Let's begin. How y'all doing today? I'm about to close some of these windows out before it get a little crazy up here, you know. Okay. Welcome, family. I'm gonna share this link a little bit. T-Page L Islam. Let me share this link a little bit. About to share it real quick. We about to get busy, family. How y'all doing? Y'all gonna share this a little bit? Yeah, we about to turn it up just a little bit. Sis Magnum Bay in the building. Sunny Boxing in the building. I'm just sharing a link just a little bit. Let me put this on the Moorish World page. Can y'all hear me good? How I sound? Press 7 if y'all can hear me good. Let me do this real quick. Do I need more light? What do I need? Check. All right. Check. Can y'all hear me? Press 7. You can hear me? Okay, y'all can hear me? All right. So everybody coming in. I'm about to go live on Facebook for a second. Let me get me some water. Everybody get ready. We about to get busy. I'm gonna get me some water. We about to get right. Let me share this to a couple groups real quick. If you haven't subscribed yet, go on subscribe. If you ain't subscribed yet, go on subscribe so we can get right. Y'all ready? The title of this is the difference between the us and the ink, them and us. And I'm going to break down and explain the difference between the Moorish groups. So there will be no misunderstanding. There will be no misunderstanding as to what we represent. Don't confuse us with them. We exemplify the teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali in the most pristine sense. You follow what I'm saying? You hear me? So I don't want anybody to confuse what I'm doing with what anybody else is doing. So I'm asking you to go to, on Facebook, I'm asking you to go to Moorish World TV 7 on YouTube, because I'm about to break down the difference between them and us. Uncut, unapologetic, raw. All right? So if you are interested in understanding what all these different Moorish groups look like and why and who they are and why I am doing what I'm doing, I am going to break it down for you on Moorish World TV 7. We know we got a lot of Moorish groups out here. We got a lot of people claim that they are the end all be all, that they are it. Yeah, we do. We got them. So hold on. Let me get some water. I want everybody to come in real quick. Let me get some water. I'm coming. I'm coming. Hold up. All right. My bad. My bad. I'm coming. So we're going to be on Moorish World TV 7. All right. We'll be on Moorish World TV 7. And I want to make sure y'all can hear me good. I want to also give a special shout out to my brother, Kenzie Bay. My brother, Kenzie Bay, was so gracious that last time I was live, he told me that I had a neighbor in my nose. And I really appreciate that for letting me know that I had a neighbor in my nose. That is a real friend. He texted me while I was live and like, you got one in the nose. You got one in the nose. So shout out to Darrell Kinsey Bay, affectionately known as Montezuma Bay. You got one in the nose. Get it out, Grand Sheik. So we took care of that. So we're going to break this down in a minute, family. And I can't waste any more time. That's right. Shout out to Kinsey Bay. You got one. Get it, Grand Sheik. Get it. We got him. So I got me some juice here. 100% cold pressed tart. Cherry tart. And this is good for the blood too. All right, let's get busy. So, from one of our newest members, the question was, in all intents and purposes, what's up with all of these groups claiming to be the Moorish Science Temple of America, and which one is the legitimate one? And I answered the question in a way that say, the legitimate one to me is one who exemplifies the teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali in the fullest expression of how it should be represented. In other words, the prophet say, I left my footprints clearly cut. So we should be able to look at these footprints, and go that way. And if anybody is not going that way, then they cannot be honored saying that they're the prophet movement. That's how I see it. You may see it a different way, but I see it that the foundation of the prophet's organization must be upheld to even consider yourself to be the prophet's Noble Drew Ali's movement. So our mission is to do it like the prophet. So let's get started. And trying our best to do it like the prophet. First, I want to break down a little bit of commentary before I get started. Prophet Noble Drew Ali's organization, I can screen share this real quick. Prophet Noble Drew Ali's organization from a legal standpoint, cease to exist with the passing of Emilio. From a legal standpoint. You hear what I say? Remember, I take all challenges. From a legal standpoint, it ceased to exist. But there's a caveat to that. From a legal perspective, the Prophet movement is also perpetual. What does that mean? That means when Emilio, who the Prophet designated as the head of the Moorish Science Temple of America, when he passed, everyone dropped the ball. No one picked it up. Picking the ball up means that it's a perpetual organization, that if one comes along and see that the organization is not functioning, it can be reestablished how it was originally established. Press 7 if you're walking with me so far. I want this to be interactive. But from the passing of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, there was no one that exemplified, or rather exampled, the Prophet movement in the way that the Prophet set it up. Not one. Not one. When I say not one, not one. Not one as it relates to Kirkman Bey, who is organization is led by R. Jones Bey today, who have the likes of Sharif Anil Bey, the likes of Hopkins Bey, and whoever notables that you may know. These are my brothers, but the truth shall set you free. The Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated, take the off, and they are Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated, does not express the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's movement. This is not hate speech. This is not radical speech. This is not talking to an organized group. This is actually talking to something that has been disorganized. The Prophet is the best of examples. When you look at Ras Sadiel, another one who does not express that. But today we're going to deal with the ink. You look at the Belial administration, does not express that. Although I honor Belial as the title in which he held as a sheikh and an adept, a divine minister, but as a supreme grand sheikh, a supreme grand sheikh is one that is appointed, anointed, consecrated, and verified by a body. That's another conversation, a body which we'll call the grand body, but that's another conversation. So from an organizational and a legal perspective is what I'm speaking of. There is not one group, except for how we decided to move, that's set up like the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Not one. So in order to exemplify the teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you first have to be the example that the Prophet gave us. This is the conversation today. So, first of all, let me show you what you're looking at right here. Let's see if I can. This is November the 29th, 1926, filing with the Secretary of State. And it shows how the Prophet Noble Drew Ali legally set up the Moorish Science Temple of America. He initially filed this paper with the Secretary of State, and the name of the organization was called Moorish Temple of Science. And this was on November the 29th. Y'all with me? This was on November the 29th, 1926, and it was the Moorish Temple of Science. All right? Here is the filing that you see on the screen. If you're on Facebook, you won't be able to see it. Now, what happened? Because we have the Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated, or Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated, claiming that they are the 26th organization of the Prophet's movement. I want to make sure y'all with me today. R. Jones Bay and all of those under Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated claim to be the 1926 organization. Press 7 if you hear me, because I got to give you this raw right now. Press 7 if you hear me. They claim this. Prophets say his footprints was clearly cut. And we about to walk right in them footprints right now. We about to step right up in them. So, of course, the Prophet did file in 1926 as a civic organization. But what key point did the Prophet Noble Drew Ali say? Do we want to follow the Prophet footprints or not? What key point did he say? One of the key points that the Prophet made was, in the Moorish Guide 1928, Prophet Noble Drew Ali makes this statement. Since the work of the Moorish Science Temple of America was largely religious, the organization has been legally changed to a religious corporation. Listen, and an affidavit to this point has been properly filed in the Cook's County Recorder's Office of Illinois. If Prophet Noble Drew Ali says that the affidavit to this effect has been properly filed, that would mean, what would that mean? Come on, class, say it with me. That would mean anything else is improper. We're going to go slow. Can y'all type improper in there? Anything else is improper. So if you find something at the Secretary of State level that is, say it with me, class, improper. I don't see nobody typing improper yet. Can we spell improper for me? See, this is the raw teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. This ain't that watered down stuff that you get. This is the education of Moorish Americans in 2022. I'm going to read it one more time for you. Since the work of the Moorish Science Temple of America was largely religious, the organization has been legally changed to a religious corporation, and an affidavit. What was filed? An affidavit. What was filed? An affidavit. Where was it filed, Prophet Noble Drew Ali? To this effect has been properly filed in the Cook's County Recorder's Office of Illinois. anything at the state level is improper. Case closed. I can stop the show right now. But we won't do that. We won't do that. I can stop this right now. Game over. Get your best sheiks, get your best adapts, get your best researchers, get your best inspectors. They cannot doubt that what the prophet said. Or maybe they can. So now let me give you a history lesson. During the time of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, there existed two Moorish Science Temple of Americas primarily. One was Prophet Noble Drew Ali's Moorish Science Temple of America, and the other was the hijack in progress Claude Green's Moorish National Temple of Science of America. I showed this in my live stream called Hijacking of a Nation. What happened to the Moorish Science Temple of America? So Claude Green was the businessman of the Moorish Science, business manager, my apology, of the Moorish Science Temple of America under the leadership of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And he came up with a scheme to remove Prophet Noble Drew Ali and install his own administration, if you will. And so the prophet tells you, when they try to cover it up so much so you can't see it, but he tells you, he says, there is only one Moorish Science Temple of America, and it is mine. So when the prophet would say to you that there's one Moorish Science Temple of America, Emeliel said we will be all right if we understood the English language. If Prophet Noble Drew Ali says that there's one Moorish Science Temple of America and it is mine, that would give the implication that somebody has created another one alongside the original one. Y'all hear what I say? Why would the Prophet Noble Drew Ali make the statement, so to say, there's one Moorish Science Temple of America and it is mine? That gives the implication that there was another one alongside of it, and the history shows and proves that there was. There was one by the name of Claude Green. Claude Green, who was the business manager of the Moorish Science Temple of America, him and Kirkman Bey had infiltrated, I'm ready to show you in a minute, don't tell me about no receipts, had infiltrated about 5 temples, 5 to 7, give or take. And they were the most strong temples. The strong temples that was infiltrated by Claude Green, assisted by Lomax Bey, assisted by Kirkman Bey, assisted by Small Bey, assisted by Lovett Bey, assisted by the other brother, Murray father. Get his name. You know what I'm talking about. But assisted by these people to remove the prophet and install themselves as leader. Foreman Bey is the other brother I'm naming. And there was quite a few more too now, but I'm just naming the obvious ones. And Foreman Bey, they plotted to remove the prophet. See, people don't like to talk about 1929, 1928 at the end because it exposed what people are doing today. But they plotted to remove the prophet out of the head seat of the Moorish Science Temple of America and install themselves because they thought they could do it better. The assistant to Claude Green was no doubt Kirkman Bey. So this is how the takeover happens. in 1928, end of 28, going into 29. So as the takeover happens, this is where I pick up at. Let me stop this for a second and let me do another screen share just to verify what I'm talking about. Just to verify what I'm talking about. All right. Let me verify what I'm talking about. I'm going to go in some of my old slides to verify what I'm talking about, just so those can get this lesson in the purest form, so I can show you who I am and what I'm doing. Okay. So here's my slides right here. All right. So here is the same document. As you can see right here, Emeliel was appointed by the prophet to oversee the temples even when the prophet was in the flesh. He was overseeing the temples even when the prophet was in the flesh. Let me go down here. And many people didn't like that. Though Emeliel was very flexible. Everybody subscribe because we're going to turn up all the way to the end of the year every Sunday on here. No, not every Sunday, but we're going to turn up. So Emeliel was selected by the prophet and approved by the grand body as the head officer of the Moorish Science Temple of America under the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. That's indisputable. But now, with that being said, once this fight over this leadership happened after the passing of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, things went all over the place. Now, when I say let's start with one of the first breakoffs, in fact, by the time the prophet passed physical form, there were a few breakoffs. But we'll start with the Claude Green and Kirkman Bay, which everybody tried to hide and cover up. The Claude Green and Kirkman Bay breakoff is actually expressed in the FBI files and also expressed in newspaper clippings, not only the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Moorish Guide, but also in regular publications. So it says, on March 15th, this is the FBI file, and we're not going to trust the FBI. Nah. But this is what it says. On March 15, 1925, Green was stabbed to death. The following day, Drew Ali was arrested, but subsequently released on bond. So, if Green was stabbed to death on the 15th, the prophet was arrested on the 16th. All right? Then it says, on July 20th, 1929, Drew Ali was beaten to death in a bloody fight between warring, y'all said tuberculosis, remember? Between warring MSTFA factions. Now remember, the FBI is merely getting intel. I'm going to read it to you slow and calmly. On July 20th, 1929, Drew Ali was beaten to death in a bloody fight between warring MSTFA factions near MSTFA Temple 3603 Indiana, South Indiana Avenue, Chicago. A few days later, another bloody MSTFA riot occurred, during the course of which 2 Chicago policemen were killed and 1 MSTA member was killed and numerous others was arrested. But that's not the only place that it's reported. See, the thing about research, you have to get a bunch of references. And so I try to get as much as I can. So in getting these references, I don't know what's going to pop up next. Johnson Bay is the one that got in a gun battle with the police. In the Dixon Evening Telegraph in Dixon, Illinois, listen to this. May 6th, the prophet had passed form at this point. A woman's inquisitiveness prevented a bombing of the Moorish temple last night. The woman passing by wondered what was a truck parked behind the temple. She walked into the alley where the truck was parked and looked into it. Then she ran screaming for a policeman. Inside the truck, she found 40 sticks of dynamite, percussion caps had been attached. The woman's unexpected arrival apparently frightened away the bombers before the bombing could be consummated. The Moorish temple is headquarters for the Negro cult. 14 sticks of dynamite with the fuses and detonating caps were found last night in the rear of 3603 Indiana Avenue. Let me pause and stop for a minute. Who lived at 3603 Indiana Avenue? Anybody know? Who lived at 3603 Indiana Avenue? Somebody type it in for me. Prophet Noble Drew Ali home was the temple. It was home office. Emil was living in the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's home office, home temple. The rival factions, Claude Green, Kirkman Bay squad, was trying to blow it to smithereens. It's a police report to this fact. Are y'all still with me? We got 32 people in here. We shouldn't talk about this. Y'all want me cut this? Y'all want me cut this out now? Y'all don't want the truth? Y'all don't want to see why things look like it do? Y'all don't want to see why the Moorish Science Temple of America has been in disarray and it's a need for a reformer to form it back to what it was? Y'all don't see why it's so important that we have a reformer? That means to bring it back, form it back to what it was? Y'all want me to be quiet? Y'all want me to shut up so we can go on play games? No, we ain't gonna shut up, because this is the reason why this divine movement has not reached the divine fruition, because these lies have been hidden. Well, the reformer is here. In other words, we're going back and forming it what it was. The reformer is here. Call me the reformer. This is one of the two headquarters of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The other is 4139 South Parkway, was the scene last September of a gun battle between police and Negro cultists, in which 2 policemen and a cult leader was killed. Miss Matilda Davis Bay, high priest of the temple, and her husband, Davis Eli, were arrested, although it was Miss Davis who notified the police of the presence of the dynamite. Shout out to my brother Selby Bay, M. Nugent, and all of those who want the truth. This is why it looks like it do. This is why the Moorish Science Temple of America have all these groups out here looking crazy. Several months ago, a colored man, here's the original article, a colored man known as Prophet Green, he began to call himself a prophet because he was trying to take Prophet Noble Drew Ali's position, but he didn't know what a prophet was, who was also said to have been opposed to direct action, was killed, and Kirkman Bay was next on the list. Are y'all still with me? Y'all don't want to hear this truth? Claude Green wasn't by himself. He wasn't alone. It was a major takeover with a bunch of variations. So when we ask who is the Moorish Science Temple of America today, I will tell you again, I can tell you who's not. Not as it relates to how the prophet movement is structured. Here we go. If you're on Facebook, come on over to Moorish World TV 7. If anybody's on Facebook and got the link to Moorish World TV 7, please put it in the chat section, because I'm going to cut this off in a minute so we can come over here and I can focus over here. Now, it says conflict within the cult itself developed a year ago when Claude Green, that's supposed to say vizier, was slain. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, head of the cult, was arrested in connection with Claude Green's death, but was released. He died a month ago. And stories circulated in the Negro section are that his death was a result of a beating administered by Green's followers. Once again, we see that, and I got way more than this, that it's always the talk that the prophet was murdered. Now, by Claude Green people. You got to remember that the history that was hidden is that Claude Green had already taken over at least 5 to 7 temples. They was already following him. Thank you, Justice Bay. They was already following Claude Green. They was already ready to throw the prophet Noble Drew Ali to the curb for Claude Green, Kirkman Bay, Lomax Bay, and the whole squad. Temple number 9, the whole squad. They was already ready to do that. In fact, many have already done it. I know they don't want to hear this today, but they got to hear it now. Police said they had raided the cult in 1929 to rescue a colored man named Kirkman Bay, and that 2 policemen were slain during the raid. Noble Drew Ali, founder of the National Muhammadan Cult among colored people, was beaten to death in the Moorish Science Temple that same year, and another man was stabbed to death. There you go again. And we got people riding around with this story that the prophet passed of pneumonia, tuberculosis. We're gonna still rock with that lie. We're gonna still rock with that lie that Prophet Noble Drew Ali died of tuberculosis when he was healing people of the same. Who perpetuated that lie? Huh? You didn't tell your own story. You didn't do the research of your own story. Somebody told that lie. The same one that claimed to be the Moorish Science Temple of America that the prophet laid down. You didn't tell that lie. Somebody gave you that lie that he died of tuberculosis. He died of pneumonia. Okay. Not today, buddy. Can't trick us today, buddy. We're going to get this divine movement back on track. Can't trick us today, buddy. That's right. Not today. With that being said, let's get it. Anybody that is on, what up, George Brown? Anybody that is on Facebook, the link is in the chat. Come on over, because I want you to see the proof. I'm giving evidence. Here we go. The state's attorney's office has gathered a wealth of data on the cult, which shows that its underlining and basic aims was to elevate the power of the black race over the white. This was not generally approved and led to inter-organizational trouble, which broke out 4 months ago with the assassination of Prophet Claude Green. Again, he was calling himself a prophet. Kirkman succeeded Green. But Johnson was the candidate of the radicals, and the authorities alleged that Johnson planned to put Kirkman out of the way as Green was dispatched. Are y'all still with me? This is the part of the story that you wasn't told. That Claude Green was taking the prophet's place. He was trying to get rid of the prophet. He was trying to annihilate the prophet. Kirkman Bey was alongside Claude Green. That's right. Who want to prove me wrong? Show me what you got. I'm showing you what I got. And I got some more. I'm on my Busta Rhyme. Give me some more. Give me some more. I'm on my Busta Rhyme. I'll read one more time. Kirkman succeeded Green, but Johnson was the candidate of the radicals. And the authority alleged that Johnson planned to put Kirkman out in the same way that Green was dispatched. Conflict within the cult itself developed a year ago when Claude Green, the Grand Vizier, was slain. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, head of the cult, was arrested in connection. Notice the word Grand Vizier. You have to pay attention to that word, because that word is where Grand Advisor was born from. See, back then, most people wasn't as educated as people lead them out to be. But Grand Advisor grew out Grand Vizier. A vizier is the head of a Turkish-led Islamic state or officer. Press 7 if you're with me. I'm going to say it one more time. Supreme Grand Advisor grew out of the term Grand Vizier. That's where the term comes from. So if you ever wondered, what the heck is a Grand Advisor? How is a Grand Advisor become a head of an organization? It doesn't make sense. An advisor is an advisor. Well, they messed up on this trick. It's supposed to be Grand Vizier. It's supposed to be Grand Vizier, but somewhere along the way, it got mixed up in translation, and he becomes the Grand Advisor. You can't make this stuff up. So then you have, after Claude Green is murdered, and he's not the Grand Vizier, he's not the Grand Vizier after he's murdered. We're going to get into that in a minute. Check this out. Claude Green, leader of the cult, was murdered in March of this year, and Drew Ali, who succeeded him, died in July. The cult has been leaderless since police inclined the theory that Kirkman Bey was seeking to be the head. I'm going to stop right there, but let's go here. Conflict within the cult itself developed a year ago when Claude Green, Grand Vizier, was slain. All right? This is the Post. These are different papers now. Row starts when police seeking missing Grand Vizier. What Grand Vizier went missing? Huh? Let's look. The spark of a factional dissension of a mystic cult, Negro cult, flared into furious gunfight in Chicago, Negro quarters today, and for a moment the city feared an outburst of radical strife. A detective Negro was slain. Let's go on down right here. And it says, row starts when police, all right? seeking missing Grand Vizier. What Grand Vizier went missing? Anybody know? Go right here to the third paragraph. If you can see my cursor, it says the fight started shortly before noon when a squad of police marched into the large apartment house on the South Parkway near 42nd Street in quest of kidnappers of Charles Kirkman, who styles himself Grand Vizier Bey. Who styles himself Grand Vizier Bey. That's where you get Grand Advisor from. I know y'all watching. Bring your Sharif Beys, bring your Hopkins Beys. You got some explaining to do today. I'm the friend of truth and the truth alone. You got some explaining to do today. You got some explaining to do today. Poor Tink Tink. Poor Tink Tink. You got away with this lie too long. You talk slick about Tahaka Bay when you think I don't hear you. I got flies on the wall. Yeah. I got the walls listening and the walls talk. The walls talk. I tap into a long book of remembrance. I hear what you're talking about. You can talk about me in quiet, but all that silence can still be heard. So it says, and Kirkman Bey, who styles himself as the Grand Vizier Bey of the Moorish National Science Temple of America. There was two Moorish Science Temple of Americas even during the time of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. In fact, let me blow it up for you so you can see. Right here. Can you see it? Kidnappers of Charles Kirkman, who styles himself Grand Vizier Bey of the Moorish National Science Temple of America. They still here today perpetrating. And this is why any and everybody can come in claiming to be about the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and show no indication of the teachers of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's in their talk, in their walk, or their works, and no one says anything. No one says anything. Do that in Islam of the Eastern persuasion. Fake like you coming for Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad. Fake like you getting greasy over there. See what happened. But when you get greasy with Prophet Noble Drew Ali and the teachings, everybody gets a pass. Can we all get along? Why we always arguing? Why you always debating? No, we want to just get to the truth because the truth will set you free. That's all we want. Perhaps because he aspired to the throne made vacant in June by the death of the chief protector of Islam. The chief protector of Islam, who was no other than Prophet Noble Drew Ali. The chief protector of peace. All right? So we're going to get to who's who. So when we talking about the gun battle was fought between police squads and a group of colored men who had kidnapped Charles Kirkman Bey, Grand Vizier of the Moorish Science Temple of America, a colored religious cult, in an apartment at 4133 Grand Boulevard. Kirkman succeeded Green. Which more you want? Coming Wednesday, the battle, Burrex said that Charles Kirkman kidnapped just before the battle and others. He had organized a new cult among the Negroes. He had organized a new cult among the Negroes of the South and West Side colonies. They also retained some control of the old Drew organization. I can shut this down now. Y'all want me to stop now? Who are we? Who are we? We bringing back the original Moorish Science Temple of America established by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, because what you see today is not there. Who are we? Press 7 if you can read. Can you read this? Let me leave it up there for a minute. Can you read it? They also retain some control in the old Drew organization. Anybody pressing 7 yet? Anybody pressing 7 yet? This group is still here today. This group is still here today. And this is why the Moorish Science Temple of America as an ideal is in disarray. This is why. Because something that's founded on a divine truth, once it is manipulated and this and the waters are muddied, you will never see the original design and the products of it. This is not the original design. And we subscribe to the original design that the prophet gave us. We subscribe to it. Brother Tahaka Bey and those who are members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, affectionately known as the Noble Temples, we subscribe to the original design of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And we make no apology. Ain't no friends with a lie. We make no apology. None. Bring your best of scholars. Bring them. Show me your state filing with the Secretary of State. Show it to me. Show me what you got. A friendly, brotherly debate so we can get to the truth. But who really wants the truth? Some people love to live in their slumber. Some people love to live in their lie. Some people loves to live in that which is false, because when you live in a lie, it demands no responsibility. When you live in the truth comes with responsibilities. A lie has no responsibilities. You don't have to speak when you walk in a lie, but when you walk in the truth, you are compelled to speak. You are compelled. But when you walk in a lie, you don't care what anybody believes. You don't care what nobody have faith in. You don't care if the whole ship goes off the cliff. As long as you eating, as long as you dressed in your fine little garbs, you don't care. But when you live in the truth, you are compelled to speak. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali makes a statement. He said, I bought you what you need to save a nation, and take it and save yourself. The connection to that is when you truly save yourself, you endeavor to save yourself. I'm going to say it again. When you truly endeavor to save yourself, you save yourself. Your people is one of the whole. You're just one little drop in the bucket of the whole. So when you truly save yourself, you endeavor to save yourself. So when the prophet said, take it and save yourself, he's not talking about an individualistic self. It starts with the individual, but it ultimately overflows to the nation, to the world, and to humanity. But somebody don't want you to know that. Somebody is working for somebody to keep somebody in power. Because the only thing that can set you free is the truth. And so when those don't express the truth, they are part of the corrupt concept that if we were in power, we will seek revenge. We will seek retribution. Because that's the whole fear of the opposition. The opposition believe that if we ever retain or reclaim power in any way, shape, or form, we're going to seek revenge. And you have people on our side working for that side. That's why they don't speak on the truth. That's why they mad right now, squirming. They're watching too. They squirming right now. Where you at, Sharif Bey? Come on. The great debater, Sharif Anil Bey, come up. Come on. You've been covering the truth too. Come on. Come on out, my brother. You know I love you. You're the best debater I ever seen. Come on out here. I know you're watching. Let me stop there. So when we look at the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's organization, that's bringing up the speed. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali says, since the work of the Moorish Science Temple of America is largely religious, the organization has legally changed its name to the Religious Corporation, and the affidavit to this point have been filed. Now, with the state of Illinois, he legally changes the name on May the 21st, 1928. All right? 1 second. Let me screen share this. My bad. Now, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali legally changes the name on May 31st, 1928. I'm going to ask you to type it in the chat. But let me read this one more time. Since the work of the Moorish Science Temple of America was largely religious, the organization has been legally changed to the Religious Corporation, and the affidavit to this effect have been properly filed in the County of Cook Recorder's Office. We went over that earlier. Here is the name change at the Secretary of State level. It says, name of the said organization hereby application to the Secretary of State of Illinois to change the name of Moorish Temple of Science to what? What was the legal name? The legal name of the Moorish Science Temple of America, per Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Can y'all read it? Somebody type it in. What is the legal name of the Moorish Science Temple of America, per Prophet Noble Drew Ali, per legal filing at the Secretary of State level? But it's not a legal religious organization until it's filed at the County of Cook Recorder's Office level, according to the Prophet. Anybody typing in yet? They got a legal document right there. What did he change the name to? Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated, MST of A 1928. What did he change the name to? According to the legal document. Now, if I give you this, you know that I got tons of more. I got tons more. Kinsey Bay in the building. Kinsey Bay say, the Moorish Science Temple of America. That's who we are. That's who we are. Now, why is that so important? Because there's a variation called Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated, who is filed under the Secretary of State, that people believe that exemplify the structure and the organization that the Prophet established. That's not true, unless they prove me otherwise. It's just not true. When you look at the affidavit right here, you will find, if you know how to read a legal document, you will find how this is called the Moorish Science Temple of America. But I'll leave that for another time. Because as you can see, according to such rules and regulation, Moorish Science Temple of America, they don't have V in the front. Noble Drew Ali, Merely Yale, Lovett Bay, and Foreman Bay, right here, the Moorish Science Temple of America, deriving this power authority. Who got the authority? Say it with me now. Who got the authority? The Moorish Science Temple of America, deriving this power authority. Say it with me one more time. The Moorish Science Temple of America, deriving its power and authority. Where is this filed? In the county of Cook. What makes it legitimate? The county of Cook. So the question was, who is the real Moorish Science Temple of America? I say the realest Moorish Science Temple of America is one who exemplified the teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I say the realest Moorish Science Temple of America and know the structural playbook of the teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I said the real Moorish Science Temple of America know the political aspect of the of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So Prophet Noble Drew Ali makes a statement. He says, in this statement, he goes on to say that the Moors, one second, maybe I can find it real quick. Prophet Noble Drew Ali makes a statement. He says that the Moors will be moving politically. In other words, he said he got 3,000 Muslims from the west side and the Grand Temple. And they will be moving in the election, voting for certain particulars at the election. Now, one of the things that you will have to know is that, and I'm going to just give one example, but I can give many. I don't give everything at once. In order to move as the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you have to have some sort of autonomy, connected but disconnected with this government. What I mean by connected, there's Hertzovite statute that connects the Moorish Science Temple of America established by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, but it also disconnects you and gives you a degree of autonomy. You have to be a member of the temple to really understand, because I don't have time to go into that right now. So when the Prophet set up the movement under Hertzovite statute, the connection and the disconnection was simultaneously. So the Moorish Science Temple of America is the spokes within a wheel. Or as my wife liked to say, a wheel within a wheel. You understand what I'm saying? It's an organization that is destined to metamorphose into a nation. But it starts as an organization, and its complete unfoldment, it's a well-established nation. So every officer that holds a station is not only politically informed, but economically informed, as well as socially informed. So they can play their part on all levels, whether it's the popularity of rap music, whether it's the popularity of what's going on in the social climate of the homosexual thing, what's going on in the social climate of the blood thing. You know what I mean? The true leader is informed on all levels. And where the true leader is not proficient, he employs or she employs one to cover that area for our liberation. That's what we're doing here at the Moorish Science Temple of America. But now, When we're talking about political, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali organization is not, never was, a 501c3. In fact, it didn't even exist during the time of the Prophet. But the question would beg, would the Prophet Noble Drew Ali be a 501c3? Absolutely not. It's impossible for him to be a 501c3 because part of the organization is a civic presence. People think civics deal with law. Law is a small part of civics. Politics is the major part of civics. And politics is not saying go and vote. Politics in the truest form is saying Jack John Bay is running, 5,000 people vote for Jack John Bay. That's true civics. Block voting and political power. This is how Italians grab political power. The Irish grab political power. The Chinese grab political power. They use their block. They use their numbers to put their own people into political position to get access to the pen and the bag. The pen so they can make law. The bag so they can take care of their people. A 501c3 is not capable of that. So the Prophet would have nothing of it. Have nothing of it. And as you will soon see, I'm just going to show you one temple. And then I'm going to get out of here. Because I got a meeting to set up for this lecture today. I'm going to show you one. All right. Read this for me. All right. What does that say? This is a 501c3. You can never exemplify the teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali existing under a 501c3. Press 7 if you hear me. Press 7 if you hear me. You can never, ever be the Prophet movement demonstrating under a 501c3. Are you with me? Are you with me? Why? I'm about to show you why. I'm about to show you why. Give you a few examples before I get out of here. A 501c3 has not the ability, let me stop this, to do this. 1 second. A 501c3 in the United States of America has not the ability to do this. This is the words of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, not me. The 3,000 Muslims of Grand Temple and West Side Temple are making ready to register every man and woman in order to take the lead for various candidates whom they have been instructed to vote for. A 501c3 cannot instruct you to vote for anybody. Alderman Lewis B. Anderson, they was instructed to vote for. Honorable George W. Blackwell, who was a judge, they was instructed to vote for him. Honorable Oscar the Priest, they was instructed to vote for him. Honorable Robert H. Jackson, they was instructed to vote for him. All working through the regular Republican organizations of which the whole situation and have their own. Hold on. The Honorable Daniel M. Jackson is our matchless leader. All know the whole situation and have their own way in time to give the order to go. To have their own way in time to give their order to go. The Muslims will be ready. The point of the matter is, thank you on Facebook. See me on YouTube. Come in, subscribe, hit that like. If you want more of these teachings, raw and uncut, you got to get your likes up. You got to get your share on, and you got to subscribe. Peace on Facebook. Now, does it make sense to you? You know what I mean? Does it make sense to everybody? So when you see a Moorish Science Temple of America that's a 501c3, there is no way, or a nonprofit regulated by the process of which a 501c3 is regulated, there is no way it could be the Prophets Movement. When you also see organizations claiming to be governments, there we go. When you also see organizations claiming to be governments who are filing with governments, they cannot exemplify the Prophet's teachings. Did you see? Press 7 if you can read that real quick. Who is that right there? How are you going to be a government filing for with another government? Huh? This is the United States of America Republic, ain't it? See, Cannon Bay, you got some explaining to do. See, let me tell you something. This could be their community outreach. But when it's connected, there's a conflict of interest. Everything that the United States of Republic under Cannon Bay is filed as an LLC, 501c3. Like, what are you doing? So, family, I hope I answered the question. The difference is that we fall under the laws of the county of Cook, the same way as the Prophet did. We do. The Moorish Science Temple of America. Not under the Secretary of State. And again, let me explain why. For those who did not catch it the first time, I'm going to explain one more time the reason why. One second. Since the work of the Moorish Science Temple of America was largely religious, the organization has been legally changed to a religious corporation. We see that at the Secretary of State level. And an affidavit to this effect have been properly filed in the County of Cook Recorder's Office. Unfortunately for you, you cannot find that information on the internet. You have to go to the county recorder's office to get that. So you can't go to the Secretary of State website to get that. You have to go to the county of Cook recorder's office and request it and pay $25 to $45 to get the affidavit that was filed. We are not you and you are not us. We are not you and you are not us. We are doing the work of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. according to the pristine teachings of the Prophet Noble Ali. Now, with that being said, I got to go, and I got to go set up a lecture that I'm going to be having in a few weeks near DC, and we will be debunking the fallacies of Moorish law, that this is al-Marak, that whatever the Taj Tariq stuff, we're going on tour with this. We're going on tour with this. That's right. We're going on tour with this. We're going to put it on the ground. We're going to put it on the ground with the Moorish, and we're going to put it on the ground with the Pan-African Black Power illusion, and we're going to bring the real Pan-African out. We're going to bring the real Black Power brothers out and sisters out. We're going to bring the real Moors out. We're going to bring the real Moorish Americans out, and we're going to get this thing right. That's what we're going to do. We're going on the ground. So if you're in the D.C. area, I want you to listen up closely, because I got a lecture coming soon in D.C. Within the next few weeks. I need you to be there. If you're in the Washington, D.C. area, Maryland, Virginia, D.C., come on and stand up. Come on and stand up. Maryland, Virginia, and D.C., come on and stand up. Thank you, 282 Major. Somebody say drop the Cash App. I think we got one of our members in here that might drop the Cash App for us. I appreciate you for saying drop the Cash App, because we don't do this for money, but we already know they're going to take some money to beat these falsehood people down. We got to stay on top of them, Tyrway Major. Let me see if I can drop it in here real quick. I thank you, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm going to try to get back to my Sunday meeting. We do this every Sunday in the Moorish Science Temple of America, styled as the Noble Temples. We do it online. We was the first to establish the virtual Moorish Science Temple of America. What that means, that before COVID hit, we were already online teaching people, preparing people to learn these lessons. Hold up. We was already teaching and preparing people to build temples in their area. Oh, the meeting is closed. All right, the meeting is closed. All right, thanks for closing the meeting out. But let me go ahead and throw this up here real quick. Let me. I'm gonna try to get in here before I get out of here. There we go. But I thank everybody's support. There it is. I put the Moorish World Cash App in there, but it's the same thing. That's the only one I got it on hand. But it'll go to the temple and the endeavors that we do. But I thank y'all. We got 35 people in the building. We got 22 thumbs up. Can we get some more thumbs up before we get out of here? We got 22 thumbs up. We got 32 people in the building. Huh? Can we get it? Let me see. Let me see if we're getting any thumbs up while I'm in here. Well, I thank you anyway, family. I got to get up out of here. See if I get to my appointment. All right. But thank you. I appreciate y'all. Peace and love, family. Thumbs up on your way out. I got to get to my appointment, man. I got to set up this this meeting. Thanks again, family. Hold up. I know what happened. Oh, I know what happened. Hold up. Tyro, okay, he just threw it in. I appreciate it. I don't know why it didn't come through. All right, peace and love, family. I got to set up this